Hello class, today we're going to talk about section 4.2, which is writing equations in slope-intercept form. By the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to write slope-intercept equation when you're given a point and a slope, and you'll be able to write the equations if you are given just 2 points. First case we're looking at is given a point and a slope. If you have this information, you're going to plug in the x, the y, and the m into the slope-intercept equation, and then you are going to solve for the b value. Once you have b, you are able to use m and b to write the equation. For example, write an equation for the line that passes through the point -2, 5 with a slope of 3. -2 is my x, 5 is my y, and 3 is my m. Our slope-intercept equation, if you recall, is y equals mx plus b. So we're going to take those points that we have and plug them in. 5 is equal to 3 times -2 plus b. Following PEMDAS, we do 3 times -2, so 5 is equal to -6 plus b. In order to solve that, we are using SAD-MEEP. The opposite of -6 is adding 6, so we end up with 11 is our b value. Our final step is to actually write the equation out. So we end up with y is equal to 3x plus 11, plugging in our m and our b into the equation. The final answer will always have an x and a y, so you should not be plugging that point into your final equation. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Plugging in -7 for y and 4 for x with a slope of -1, you end up adding 4 to both sides, getting an answer of b is equal to -3. You have a couple options here. You could say y is equal to -1x minus 3, or y is simply equal to -x plus 3. You don't need the 1 in the equation. If you are given 2 points, you have to take an extra step of using our slope equation, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 to find the slope. Then you are going to pick one of the 2 points that you are given. It doesn't matter which one, you just have to pick one of them, and plug in x, y, and your slope. Again, solve for b, and then write out that final equation. So for example, we're writing the equation of a line that passes through the point -1, 12 and 4, -8. So our first job is to find that slope. We have x1, y1, x2, and y2. When I plug those in, I'm going to end up with -8 minus 12 over 4 minus -1. Minus negative turns into positive, so I end up with -20 over 5, giving us a final answer of -4 for my slope. Now I need to pick one point to plug in. I'm going to pick point 1 for this first example. So I'm going to plug in and say that y, which is 12, is equal to slope of -4 times x of -1 plus b. -4 times -1 gives me a positive 4, so 12 is equal to 4 plus b. Solving, subtract 4 from both sides, and I end up with 8 is equal to b. You could have gone through and picked point number 2. If I would have done that, I would have gotten -8 is equal to -4 times 4 plus b. -8 is equal to -16 plus b. Solving that equation, you're going to have to add 16 to both sides. -8 plus 16 is equal, again, to 8. So it doesn't matter if you pick point 1 or point 2 for your point to plug in, you are going to get the same answer, which gives us the final answer of y is equal to -4x plus 8. Go ahead and try this one on your own, finding slope first and then solving for that b value. We get our final answer of y is equal to -2/3 x minus 4.6 repeating. If you rounded that to 4.67 or just 4.7, that is fine as well. If you have questions about that, please let me know when you get to class. Last thing we have is when we are given a table. This is the same example where we are given 2 points. It's just a different way of looking at the points. So we're writing an equation to predict the airfares if the fares continue to increase at the same rate. We're going to predict the cost for 2010. So we're given our chart. We actually are given 4 separate points. You just need to pick 2 of them. Again, similar to that last example where I showed you could plug in either point 1 or point 2, you can pick any pair of these points to be your pair. I'm going to pick 2 and 4 because I feel like it. So we're going to start with our y2 value. I'll go through and label them x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to start with my y2 value of 390, and I'm going to take away 366, and then I'm going to do x2 minus x1. When I subtract those, I end up with 24 over 2, which gives me a slope of 12. I'm going to go ahead and pick point 2 to plug in, so I'm going to use this one right here. When I plug it back in, again, you could use any of the points, 1, 2, 3, or 4 to plug in. So I've got 366 is equal to 12 times 2005 plus b. When I do that multiplication, I get 366 is equal to 24,060 plus b. When I subtract 24,060, 24,060, I end up with a b value of negative 23,694. So our final equation ends up being y is equal to 12x minus 23,694. The last part of this question was to predict the cost for 2010. So we're going to use this equation, and in the place of x, we're going to plug in 2010. So we get y is equal to 12 times 2010 minus 23,694. You are going to multiply 12 times 2010 first, and then subtract that value, and you end up with a final answer of $426. If you have questions about this or anything else from the lesson, please let me know when you get to class.